Hey guys, what's up? And today I'm going to do another mini albums review. Or mini albums review. No, mini album reviews. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, it's going to be the last mini album review of the year, so I'm not gonna cover all the albums that's gonna be released in the second half of December. So if there are any great albums that I'm missing out that's being released in the second half of December, I'm going to review it in the first half of January. But this is probably the worst, I guess, the worst experience trying to listen to the albums for the review, because I'm gonna review 4 albums today, alright? And 3 of them are also pretty terrible. Now, okay, before you hit that dislike button and hate on me, I just want to tell you something. All of this, they are just my opinion. They're not facts. If you disagree, feel free to disagree. But just because I have a different opinion than yours, you shouldn't hate me for it, okay? And especially for my first review, which is going to be XXXTentacion's posthumous album, Skins. Okay, man. This album, I'm just gonna say it. It's terrible. This album, it's terrible. But X is the last one to blame. Okay? Because the party that's really fucking this album up is the record label. It's the record label. Bad Vibes Forever. And they do live up, to their name. Bad Vibes Forever. Okay, so XXXTentacion is a famous rapper who is known for his trap rap and emo folk music, and earlier in this year he was tragically murdered in Florida, and I also made a video about it, and thus his trial for domestic abuse charges has been dropped. And after that, of course, we have been mourning for his passing for quite some time, and the record label, Bad Vibes Forever, still decided to, release X's music. And tell you what, these songs are unreleased for a reason, okay? But yet the record label wants to just put them out, even though they're just a bunch of demos. Yeah, this album, it has so little music, okay? It has so little music. I mean, it's around 20 minutes long with 10 tracks, and like half of them sound like overextended interludes, and I don't know, I guess they somehow resemble an album a little bit, but it isn't really an album, to be honest. And basically, long story short, the record label is literally robbing X's grave right here and making money out of X, even though he had already passed away. And I am actually not that happy about it. So we have the intro track, which is basically a robotic spoken word track, and the robotic effect is basically some sort of cheap effect, and that's basically the first track. And then we have the second track, Guardian Angel, which isn't all that terrible, to be honest, but it just feels so effortless, so tame, so mild. We have the reversed beats slowly fading into the scene, and then we get X slowly and aimlessly singing, and that's pretty much it for the track. It's not long, it's just around 1 minute, 2 minute long, and that's pretty much it. It's pretty uneventful, to be honest. And then we have Train Food, which is actually a really interesting track, in my opinion. It's super stripped back, super skeletal. We have these very heavy and dark piano strikes. That's very minimal. We don't have a beat. We don't have any other instrumentals other than some piano lines. And we also get these train sound effects. And this is a narrative-driven track where X kind of talks about him, or the protagonist, being on the train and I guess being followed and later on tortured by this dark figure who embodies death. And I think that's a really, I guess, interesting and dark story. And it's one of the brighter moments of XXXTentacion's career. And but immediately after that we get Whoa, Mind in Awe, which is which pales so much in comparison to the previous track. It tries to be a lovely jiggly pop tune, but it just lacks a hook, a chorus, a cohesive instrumental, a beat, anything. It just lacks everything. It's basically only a sketch, a draft, an idea, not even like a demo, more like an improv, like somewhere between an improv and a demo, and it's just such an unappealing track. It really turns me down. And again, X is the last one to blame here, because the record label saw fit to release these tracks even though these tracks aren't even finished. And then we have Bad, which is like the song Sad off of his previous album, Question Mark. And yeah, this song, not really a song, it's basically a chorus of some song that's about to be. And yeah, I mean, X's singing isn't that bad. I mean, his singing is actually pretty good when you compare it with a lot of other, contemporaries in the rap scene right now. But still, it's barely structured and it's totally unfinished. And then you have Staring at the Sky, and it has some harsh and dark guitars. Again, it doesn't have a beat, and it doesn't have another instrumental layer. Just some really harsh guitars, and we get X singing again, and we get X singing really harshly, almost shouting, "I was staring at the sky," and at first it feels a little too, I guess unappealing, a little too half-baked and ill-conceived maybe, but the second half is actually pretty raw and pretty heavy. And it's just like XXXTentacion is going back to the old school emo rock roots, and I feel like it's a pretty nice touch, not gonna lie. But then the next track, 1 Minute, featuring Kanye West, totally ruins the mood. First of all, we get these really rough and choppy guitars, and I don't even know if they are actual guitars or are they basically keyboards trying to imitate guitars. But damn, it's like they're trying to imitate a guitar riff so bad, but it's just not even a guitar riff. And it's super static, it's super redundant, it's been recycled over and over and over again in the track, and it just sounds trash. And Kanye West is the biggest problem of the track, because it just feels like Kanye West is trying so hard to appeal to the younger hip-hop audience, and it just turns out kinda corny, kinda cringy, almost. And we also get X showing up at the last leg of the track. Last leg? Yeah, and then we have X's Scream, which is very explosive, very raw. But the producers of the album somehow saw fit to extend X's Scream into 8 bars. So it's and it's laughable, okay? And then we have Difference and Interlude, which is kind of ridiculous, because, I mean, what's the difference between an interlude than any other track? Wow, pun unintended. Alright, but really, an interlude, and all this track are basically some muffled guitar improvs. It doesn't even sound demo, it sounds like an improv. And that's all it is. And then we have I Don't Let Go. Again, X is the last one to blame. I think, X's singing and the instrumentals backing him up in here are pretty ominous, pretty mystical, and I like how lo-fi it sounds. But again, it's so unfinished, it's so incoherent, it's barely a track. And then the album ends off with What Are You So Afraid Of? And it has some sturdy guitars, and it's a pretty straightforward ballad, but The mixing, it's really terrible. The vocals, they feel so faint, and they feel so uneventful. It's just not good. So yeah, overall, I think this album is terrible. And I think X is the last one to blame. I think the record label really did X wrong, because this album is clearly not what X is trying to achieve on his later albums in his discography. So I'm sorry. 2 out of 10. And my favorite here is Train Food, and my least favorite is Mind and Awe. And then the second album that I'm gonna talk about is the new Jaden Smith mixtape, The Sunset Tapes, A Cool Tape Story. And yeah, Jaden Smith, actor, son of Will Smith, that's hot, that guy. Yeah, Jaden Smith. Woke Jaden Smith, cutting up humans, Jaden Smith. Karate Kid, Jaden Smith. Last year he released his full-length debut, SYRE, and it's not an impressive album at all. It's really unoriginal. It's really obvious that he's trying to rip off Kanye West, and the lyrics, they are, not only are they egotistic and sort of narcissist almost, they are pretty bad in general. A lot of lines are recycled, they're redundant, and the mixing is terrible, and overall the album sounds pretty generic. But I don't hate Jaden Smith. We cool, right? But this album, this mixtape, and then we have this mixtape, and this mixtape actually makes SYRE sound like a decent album, because this mixtape pales so much in comparison. It's really way worse than SYRE, to be honest, because it's way more unoriginal, way more generic, and way more uninspired. I mean, from the start to finish, the album overall sounds super uninspired. Like the first track, SOHO. SOHO, LOHO, YOLO, Marco Polo. It's so uninspired, and the beat is basically this dreamy, kinda spacey trap rap thing with some really bland pianos, and they just slap together these things, and you have the first track. And then we have the second track, a Calabasas freestyle, which is actually probably my favorite track off of the album. I think the beat is pretty cool. The flow by Jaden Smith is pretty nice, even though there are a couple of weird lines here or there, like that line where Jaden Smith talks about a pregnant dragon or something. I don't know. And then we have the third track, Play This on a Mountain at Sunset. And it's really a nothing. It's a nothing track. It's a none track. There's nothing in it. There isn't a beat. The singing is as minimal as possible. It's like ambient music for elevators, but it's way more uneventful. It's not as relaxing as actual elevator music. So I'm super unimpressed with this track. And then we have a Plastic, okay, which is another trap rap song, and I guess the beat is okay, but the mixing on this track is terrible, and the flow is super generic, and overall it's such a forgettable track. Again, it sounds like Jaden Smith isn't even trying to make a good song. It's so incoherent, it's really half-baked, and that's it. And then we have Distant, and it's a really flat, really mundane, emotional pop song. And, Jaden Smith talks about looking at butterflies, and then looking at the stars, and then waiting for the sunset, which doesn't even make sense by itself. And the way Jaden Smith delivers it, it's like, whoa, I'm so beautiful. This is so emotional. Wow. And this track is, all this track is a $1 Brockhampton track, a ripoff. And then we have Better Things, which is I guess another one of the better tracks of the record of the mixtape. I'm sorry, it's a mixtape. Yeah, even though it's a pretty, I guess, tolerable trap rap banger, it's still a really unoriginal track. And then we have Yeah Yeah, which is a surprising tropical summer jam that's super glitzy and glossy at first, and then when it breaks into the verses and the choruses, it's just straight up $1 Drake. Instead of $1 Brockhampton or $1 Kanye West, this is a $1 Drake song. And Jaden Smith also raps about, wanting to see girls naked. Oh, I want to see girls naked because I'm so horny, whoa. And then and then we have SYRE and Abbey Road, which is this really weird vocal interlude thing. And it's horrible. It's horrid. It's like Bon Iver and James Blake trying to sing with auto-tune, but they couldn't hear each other, so they're just, coming out with a bunch of noises. I don't even know what the fuck's going on with this track. And then we have a 1010, which is even worse. It sounds like Jaden is asleep. It's like he just drank some cough syrup and then recorded the song. It's just so effortless. It's so mindless, okay? It's like Jaden Smith didn't put any effort into writing the song or producing the song. Did he even produce this song? Did he even produce the mixtape? I don't know. But it's like they did it within 2 hours. Like, it sounds like Jaden Smith wrote the song in 2 minutes, and they recorded this song in 10 minutes, and then they produced it in half an hour, and then whatever, another track for the mixtape, I guess. And then we have a Fallen Part 2, which is super forgettable. I would have forgotten about the track if it weren't for my script. Yeah, it's this spacey trap rap track, and at first we get these post-rock instrumentals that are actually not that bad, but in the second half, we get this super deadpan, super stern spoken word passage. It's like so serious, and it totally ruins the mood. And then we have the last track, Rolling Around. Look at me, I'm rolling around. And it has some pretty cool futuristic lo-fi synths, but again, that other than the synth, and also I forgot to mention, but the previous track, Fallen Part 2, the spoken word is supposed to be super political and stuff, and whoa, Jaden Smith is getting political. It's like, whoa, Jaden Smith's verses are so political. I can't handle it. Whoa. So, yeah, I'm not impressed with this album either. I know I'm kind of harsh, but Jaden Smith's new mixtape, it's a 2 out of 10 also. And my favorite here is a Calabasas Freestyle, and I hate 1010. But of course, there are great albums. Well, one great album, actually. And that is the new J.I.D, or J.I.D album, DiCaprio 2. So, J.I.D, Atlanta rapper, who's often being compared to Kendrick Lamar because of his very diverse flow and instrumental choices. And I do agree that he sounds like Kendrick Lamar a lot, but not like he's directly ripping Kendrick off, so, we're not in a Greta Van Fleet situation here. But yeah, last year he released The Never Story, which is just okay, but this year he released DiCaprio 2, and that got me wondering, where's DiCaprio 1? But, whatever. DiCaprio 2 is just the name. Let's get into the music itself. Awesome. Okay, awesome. Nothing too abstract, nothing too experimental or anything. Nothing too cutting edge or innovative, but some really, really solid, well-produced, and well-performed rap music that I so desperately need in the year of 2018. The album starts off with Frequency Change, an intro track, and then you have the first actual track, Slick Talk, which is amazing. At first it's this lo-fi industrial thing, but then the beat changes and we get these super mystical and gloomy and almost dark guitars that builds up a boom bap beat that's really nice. And the lyrics of this track, they are pure genius. The wordplay game is on point, and I don't know, man. This track just got my hopes up. And the flow. Can someone talk about J.I.D's flow? On point. Awesome. Flawless. Super smooth. And then we have the second track, Westbrook, which is a grimy trap song, but the trap beat is blown out to such a loud and mystical instrumental. It's really amazing. And again, the lyrics of this thing, the flow. The flow is just super smooth. It's really, really, really gratifying. And then we have Off Deez, featuring J. Cole, and it has some of the most intense rap verses I've heard all year. Really, get off my dick, get off my dick, get off my dick. And the guitars, the instrumentals, they are super grimy, they're muddy, and they are just super tasteful, and I love it. Then we have 151 Rum, which is more mild and weak compared to other tracks in the album. But still, J.I.D's flow on this track is great, and it varies a lot, in fact. Even though the instrumentals are kinda okay, J.I.D's flow is what really saved the song. And Off the Zoinkys is the next track, and it's such a charismatic track. It's super charismatic with the super smooth flow, and the instrumentals are amazing. It's sort of a soul jazz fusion, and the pianos, they are kind of wild, but then they go up and down, so it makes a very, very unique taste, and I love it. And then we have Workin' Out, which is a way more easygoing and luxurious and blissful rap song, and it just gives off such a relaxing vibe that I really dig. And of course, we have a meh track in the track list, and that's Tiiied, featuring Six Black, and LMI. And yeah, it's not really that good. I don't like it when J.I.D goes to this pop direction because it's clearly not his strong suit. And I'm not a huge fan of J.I.D's vocals on this track. It's kind of cracking, and the lyrics are pretty tedious, talking about love, but through a screen monitor, and yeah. But the next track, Skrawberries, is a way better rap song about love. It's a very beautiful rap song about, caring for your significant other, and it's really tasteful. And I really love the super slow East Coast beat that heavily uses chromatic scale. The beat is, it's kind of old school, but it sounds so good in here. And then we have the next track, Hotbox, which is a stoner rap song, which is similar to the previous track, except it's way more smooth and way more luxurious and less exciting. And I think Method Man and Joey Badass's performance in this track is really great, really amazing. And of course, J.I.D, amazing as always. And I love the instrumentals. The pianos on this thing is so lavishing, so luscious. It's almost dreamy at some points. And then we have Mounted Up, another awesome song with the grimy synths, and the rhythmic changes on this track. They are really, really genius. It's like we're working out while listening to the song and changing different exercises. It's really awesome. And the penultimate track is Just the Other Day, and it's an okay trap rap song again. That's really bass boosted, but it's not bad. It's not terrible, okay? But the real ending of the album, Despacito 2, not number 2, but TOO2, is a really gritty and hard-hitting and grimy album ender. The instrumentals are kind of low-key, and they're really nicely done and nicely produced. And J.I.D really kills it with the beat. His flow is really, really awesome on this track and on a bulk of the tracks on the record. So, yeah, thumbs up for J.I.D. I'm kind of feeling an 8 out of 10 for this album, and my favorite here is Deez, and my least favorite here is Tiiied. And then we're gonna finally move on to my last album of the day, and that is Imagine Dragons' new album, Origins. Damn, I don't want to be harsh, towards people and all, and I respect these artists, okay? But damn, this album, the more I listen to it, the more I hate it, okay? Period. At first, it's in the number 6 or number 7 least favorite albums of the year list, but after listening to it for many times, it's in the top 5 worst albums of the year. It's gonna be in the top 5. Like, of course, Imagine Dragons. They are well known for their very overblown and overly dramatic pop rock tracks that goes from piano to fortissimo. That's super loud and super corny and melodramatic. Going into this album, I'm not expecting all that much, okay? But to be fair, this album is probably their worst album so far, even worse than Evolve, to be honest. However, there are tracks that I like, such as the first track, Natural. I didn't like it all that much at first, but it kind of grew on me, actually. It's not a bad track. It's pretty catchy. I kind of like the pianos on this thing. It's kind of cold, it's kind of troublesome, and I kind of like the drums as well. They're kind of skippy. And, even though the chorus is super loud and the, verses are kind of quiet and it's kind of corny, because, Imagine Dragons had done it like 10,000 times already, but still, it's not a bad track. But what comes after is truly horrendous, okay? Truly horrendous, like really, really horrendous. We have Boomerang, which is straight up a Coldplay ripoff, okay? Look, I'm not calling out Imagine Dragons for completely ripping off Coldplay, but obviously, anyone with a brain and anyone who knows Coldplay and this band knows that Imagine Dragons is trying to pull off a Coldplay and a little bit of a Dave Grohl on this track. It's such an annoying and lame pop love song, okay? Yeah, and the frontman of the band really sounds like Chris Martin in the chorus. Letting it go, letting it go, letting you know, letting you know. It's like one of those, a Head Full of Dreams track. Yeah, and then we have Machine, which is a very interesting track, because it's not the very glitzy, glossy pop rock song we know Imagine Dragons for, but it's still equally bad, maybe even worse. It just tries so hard to be this edgy track with the instrumentals and all, and the instrumentals, they are very skeletal, they're very minimal, thus very dry, and they're also very hard-hitting. Of course, it's Imagine Dragons. And the lyrics are super corny, talking about, whoa, the society is like a machine, and I choose not to be a part of the machine. I refuse. Ah! And, yeah, it's not good. And then we have Cool Out, which is another Coldplay ripoff track. Cool out, cool out. It's like it could be a B-side track to A Head Full of Dreams. The keyboards on this track, they are really bland, really boring. And the chorus of this track, they are just so stuffed. They are so packed and crowded. Thus, it sounds so glitzy and glossy and it's just too much to handle, Thus, the production is just terrible. And then we have Bad Liar, which is one of my least favorite tracks on the album. 'Cause I'm a bad liar! Just imagine like 9-year-olds looking at the track list and go like, whoa, the title of the song, it has the word bad, it has the word liar. Wow, it's such a cool song. And, in actuality, it's this melodramatic, corny, pop rock track that tries to be, wow, relatable, like very personal, wow, lies and all. And it just completely falls flat in its face. And the instrumentals, they are super compressed. They're compressed to a point where the vocals are distorted. They're that bad. The production is that bad. And then we have West Coast, which sounds pretty pleasant at first. You know, it's a pretty quiet, pretty chill folk song, right? But then they completely ruined it with the chorus and with the second half of the track. I'll be. And, it's like Avicii's Wake Me Up, but without the EDM elements. It's just completely ruined. And then we have Zero, okay? And it's basically the theme song for Ralph Breaks the Internet, Wreck-It Ralph 2. And I love that movie. It's one of the best movies of the year. But this fucking song, hello, do you know what it's like to be a 0? It's tedious. It's almost like a mix of Jessie J's Prize Tag and some sort of pop punk radio rock track. It's really terrible. Hello. And then we have a Bullet in a Gun, which is actually not that bad. One of the better tracks of the record, to be honest. And I guess the reason being is Imagine Dragons isn't trying all that hard to be edgy and dramatic on this track. But the vocals here, they are really weird and they are really experimental, glitchy, and I don't know, I'm kind of on the fence with it. It sounds good when you're in a good mood, but it sucks when you're in a bad mood, so I don't know. But still, one of the better tracks, okay? I'll give it that. And then we have a Digital, which is one of the worst tracks on the record. The chorus is super blown out. Like, the choruses of most tracks on this album are already super blown out. But this one is extra blown out. And it's such a messy track. It's super incoherent. And the chorus, it's ear torture, okay? And I just hate how, like in the middle of verses, the song would just suddenly break into like a break beat, and it's super obnoxious. It's tedious. It's laughable, okay? But fortunately, Imagine Dragons kind of toned down the stupid, pop rock sounds on the last 3 tracks. First of all, we have Only, which is a pretty forgettable, pretty bland love pop song with some easygoing synths. And it's tolerable. It's not good, but it's still tolerable. And then we have Stuck. It's another forgettable love song, and even though the instrumentals aren't all that bad, the vocals, they are terrible. Time goes by! Yeah. So yeah. And then we have the album ending, Love, L-O-V-E, Love. And it's a corny, cheesy little love song ending, and it's slapped with another, super loud and dramatic chorus, but whatever. I guess it's not as bad as some of the other tracks on the album. It's still pretty damn awful. So, originally I was gonna give a 3, but after some serious thinking, I have to wind up with a fucking 2 again. So it's a 2-2-8-2. Yeah. My favorite here is Natural, and my least favorite is Digital. And I also really hate Bad Liar. So, have you listened to these 4 albums from 1 to 10? How much did you rate it? Like if you like. J.I.D, hate if you hate. Jaden Smith and Imagine Dragons. And subscribe if you want more. Seriously, if you want videos with higher quality and more originality, please subscribe. It would be really amazing to help this poor kid out. And also, please subscribe to PewDiePie and keep him on the top spot in YouTube, please. And I'm gonna eat this.